If you are just joining here for the very first time, what's up? Welcome. Glad to have you here. We are live on various different channels. So I'm going to just make sure I got the chat up. If you got any questions, some feedback, like what can I do to get better? What type of insight are you looking for? I would love to be able to be of support. So today, this is, again, we're going to get into really a brief training here, but I really want to, a lot of you, again, it's Friday afternoon or evening, depending on where you're at, and you may be winding down your day. So regardless of what happened today or this week, what a better time to reflect upon it. As a former athlete, I shouldn't say former, man. I'm still an athlete, but the former competitive athlete, I can tell you this is the way the process generally works in sports. You take massive action, you analyze that action, and then you adjust accordingly. Act, analyze, adjust. So think about it in the form of a football game. You take massive action in the first half. You get to halftime and you make adjustments. Or, I'm sorry, you analyze it at halftime and then you make the adjustments for the second half. So you first half you act, you analyze, and then you adjust. So this is an opportunity for you to do a self audit and reflect upon you as a leader. One of the biggest mistakes I see so many leaders make is not analyzing their body of work. What did they do well? What did you do well this week? Can you get better? We want to make sure that we avoid the biggest challenge that faces most leaders, and that is competency. You've been doing the same thing week after week, month after month, year after year, especially when you're winning on paper. So meaning you're seeing growth, you're still getting results from your team, and you are winning. But ultimately, in the grand scheme of things, you've taken your pulse off of the ecosystem or the environment around you. So we want to shift from competency to humility. So I'm asking you, for the brief time that we have here together, you come from a place of humility, and what means, where can I get better? What can I learn here? And my hope is that you just take a nugget or two away that you can learn and get better on. So if you're here live with me and it is your Friday afternoon, evening, it's a quick reflection on, okay, where did I show up? Analyzing that so you can make some adjustments going into next week, my friend. So what does that mean for you? Well, when we look at our teams, man, something I learned from sports. I shouldn't say I didn't quite grasp this in sport. It wasn't until I got out of sport, is that our results are really just a reflection of us. And for us as leaders in a leadership position, your team or the people that you manage, or if you have customers, the results that you're getting there is simply feedback. It's a reflection on you as a leader. And so this can go all different directions, but just know that the results that your team is getting currently is a reflection on you, the leader. Now, the biggest challenge is most leaders, when maybe there's some disruption, man, whether it be AI or maybe you have a disruption in your culture, maybe one of your top sales professionals leaves, something like there's some sort of disruption or in the marketplace. And what ends up happening is we want as leaders to point outside of ourselves. Well, it's got to be the market. It has to be that sales professional. It has to be the market, the economy. We're so good at blaming, complaining, and justifying as to why our team is not getting any results. And here's the biggest challenge, and I find this a lot in leaders, is they take whatever happens to whatever results they're getting in their business or on their teams as a reflection of who they are as human beings. This is so important for you to get this. Your results on your team is a reflection of you. However, you are not tied to those results, meaning you are you. You just, if you are a business owner or you're an executive, you're a manager, and that's what you do. That's not who you are. And we get so tied into putting our self-worth to our results. Yes, the results are a reflection of you. It's not a reflection of your self-worth. And so we have to be mindful of, because I tell you, when we peel back the layers, when I see executives, managers, owners, they get all fired up. They're all pissed off at their team and they're angry. And I'm like, dude, what's really going on? Let's get down to the core of it. And they feel as if the way their team is performing or not performing is a reflection of who they are as human beings. The leader, not as an owner, not as a manager, not as a role that they have, but it's a reflection of them as a human being. And thus, they don't know how to communicate that. And so they get flustered, they get triggered, they get fired up, they get angry. So yes, the results that your team is getting or not is a reflection of you. As a leader, it's not necessarily a reflection of you as a human being. It is going to reflect back where you need to get better, the work that you need to do. And so this is the problem. This is what so many leaders just, they don't avoid, they avoid. And they want to point fingers outside of themselves. So let's turn that finger back on us. This is where we're going to get better, because if not, that's where trust goes down, because your team knows, and they know that they can't trust you because you're not willing to take ownership of what's going on. You're being inconsistent. You're getting triggered in some moments. You're excited in others, and they're yo-yoing with you because you're not regulated. And if you're dysregulated, you're not going to be able to regulate any one of your team members, let alone your entire team. So instead of asking the question, what's wrong with my culture? What's wrong with my team? The more thought-provoking question is, what's up with me? What is this revealing about me? So, and where I need to get better, or what am my discipline, or what I am tolerating or not tolerating. All right. So that's the core issue there, is that we're so conditioned to point outside ourselves. We got to point back at us. So the first thing, when you do that, I want you to take the scoreboard as feedback. So yes, I know we want to grow our business. We want to generate more revenue, decrease costs, whatever. The scoreboard that you are looking at, the numbers, is simply feedback, because I'm telling you right now, you cannot control the scoreboard. You may think you can. Man, if I hustle harder, if I grind harder, if I just hire the right people, if I pour enough money into my advertising, then that's going to impact. You can't control any of that. So why put so much focus and attention on something we cannot control? It's simply feedback. And this is where, coming from a sports background, a lot of sports folks, coaches, players, they get really confused, because they say, well, yeah, I want to win, and we got to win. In business, I want to win. I want to make more money. I get it. And the scoreboard is simply feedback on how well you're doing. Since you can't control it, how are you doing? If we're winning, okay, it's telling you the things we're doing are clicking, it's working. And as you know, success can be a beautiful blinder. So it really pours into, okay, where can you focus on getting better? If the scoreboard isn't in our favor, well, it's reflecting back to us that, okay, there's things we got to work on. There's things we got to get better. Let me just make sure we're on the same page here. You are not the scoreboard. Meaning, the results that you are getting personally, or maybe that your team is getting, your organization is getting, is not a reflection of who you are as a human being. I said that earlier, but I said it for the folks that just jump back in. Just make sure we're all on the same page. Mind you, there are actually only 3 things you can control. Just before we move on, I want to make sure we're clear. The 3 things you can control: your attitude, your effort, and your response. That's it. Not your employees, not your customers, not the marketplace, not the economy, not your competitors, not the scoreboard. In fact, you can't control how much money you make. So it's just feedback. The amount of money you make personally is just feedback on how well you're doing, how much value you're creating in a marketplace. how much discipline, focus, the type of standards that you have set for yourself and for your organization or for your team. So ask yourself, before I blame the result or I blame anything out of my control, how did I show up? What's my attitude like? What's my effort? How am I responding? And just knowing that anything that shows up in those results is reflecting back to you how you are showing up, what you are modeling. This is number 2, what you are modeling, what you're tolerating, your level of standards, what you are reinforcing, what you are recognizing. It is simply a mirror. And how you know is what triggers you. And so if something happens within the organization, maybe you lose a deal with either you lost it personally or one of your team members lost it, and that triggers you. Maybe you get frustrated. You didn't like how they closed the deal. You didn't like how they put together a contract, whatever. And it's triggering for you. That's information. That's feedback to you that, okay, it's not that person. It's not the customer, the prospect. It wasn't the deal. It was something about me that I'm getting triggered. And this is awareness. This is what, I'm going to make some pretend number. 99% of all leaders do not have is this level of awareness. So you want to separate yourself from anybody else. You have a level of awareness that when things like this you feel yourself getting triggered in some capacity, if you can pause and just turn it back on you, going, this is about me. And actually, I've got a little formula here to help you. I'm gonna give it to you really briefly. And if you want this written out, this is actually what I call my torch treatment. Think about it from sports. Whenever we were injured or we were hurt, we had our athletic training staff. They would come in with the ice and the bandages and the electric stem and the tape to physically treat us because we were injured. I feel that we need, as individuals, to do what I call a torch treatment, a treatment on ourselves, meaning in the moment when we are feeling mentally or emotionally off or triggered, we can jump in with the tape, the ice, the stem on us, on ourselves. Because so many of us, as leaders, we're driven, we're focused, we're high performers, but we really haven't been taught that when there's a feeling that comes up, how to drop into that feeling and tap into it. Because it's so much easier to get angry and blame people and complain. And that's the easy part. That's what everybody does. But for you, my friend, we want to have you drop into yourself first. So here's what happens. When an event happens that triggers you, the first step I want you to do is to check in. Okay, what happened? What was the situation? And number 2, how did I react? What was my response like? Ooh, man, I got really defensive. Man, I got really angry. Man, that was sad for me. And then get clear on step number 3. Like, what's the story that I'm telling you? Because it's generally a story. And it's a story from your past that's still showing up today that you're telling yourself. So what is this? What is it? What story am I telling? And it could be that I am not good enough, or nobody's listening to me. I don't feel heard. I don't feel respected. I don't feel wanted. I don't feel loved. You can apply this in your intimate relationships as well. So what is this story that I'm telling? And what is this story costing me? So by hanging on to this story and you getting triggered by it is just, man, that story just keep coming back up. What is it costing me? Well, it could be that it's costing you deals because it shows up when you're out negotiating and things aren't going your way and you respond in a way that's defensive or angry or sarcastic. And man, those people you're trying to do business with, they feel your energy. So they shut it off. Like, no, for some reason, something's off with this deal. Doesn't quite working for me. So it could be costing you money. It could be costing you time. It could be costing you employees. It could be costing you your business, your intimate relationship. So what is this costing me? And then step number, was it 1, 2, 3, or 5 is just, what's the truth here? If you're telling yourself things like, man, I am not feeling respected, I'm not feeling valued, I'm not feeling good enough, I'm not feeling wanted, I'm not, whatever that feeling is, what's the truth? Are you really not valued? Are you really not loved? Are you not someone who can be respected? What's the truth? And it's interesting, man, when we get to the truth, it really provides a level of clarity that, you know what? Damn, that really was a powerful story I was telling myself. But the truth is, that's just not the case. And so, from a place of truth, this is where we really got to get from that place of truth. Now, getting clear with, okay, how would I show up from truth? And what actions could I take? So, it could be, let me go back to the very beginning. Maybe you have a team member who lost a deal. You were frustrated. Maybe you were watching or supporting how the deal was getting done, and you got triggered by it. And the truth was, you're nervous. You're scared that if your team members aren't closing enough deals, that you may lose your job, or you may come home with less money for the holidays than you did the year before. And so the truth is, you're just afraid. You're scared. And from that place, what actions could you take? Knowing that, man, I'm just full of fear. Would you be, I can tell you, man, if you lead anybody, it could be at home, it could be the office, it could be leading your customers. You show up from that place of vulnerability. Hey, everybody, boy, I tell you what, we just lost this deal. And I tell you, I'm just feeling a little afraid, a little nervous that this is going to impact our month. We're not going to hit our quota. Or I'm afraid how this is going to affect me personally. You know what that does? It shows you're freaking human, man. It shows you're human, just like they are. Yeah, you may sign their checks, or you're responsible for their promotions, their quarterly check-ins, like whatever. You may be responsible for that, but now you're human. Now they can relate to you. Or if you own the company, or you're an executive within your organization, man, you just show up real like that. It shifts the dynamics. But what it does most importantly is now it invites those that you lead to come with that same level of truth, that same level of vulnerability. Now, I encourage you to reflect on, what would your team look like? What would your business look like if you were showing up from that place of power, openness, realness, truth, and your team was showing up from that level of realness, honesty, truth? It's power. It's power. That's how we innovate. That's how we create. That's how we begin to move the needle and grow in all areas of our lives. Imagine what your relationship at home would be like if you showed up from that level of openness, realness, honesty, truth, as did your partner, what that would look like. So here's what I want you to do. It's Friday. On Monday, reflect on this. Rewatch this. Just come back through some of the steps, the torch treatment. But I want you to think about on Monday, what results do you currently have? Here we are. If you're watching this live here, we're kind of mid-month. What's the next 2 weeks look like for you? And how can you model? Here's the most, and I'm going to close with the toughest part. How can you model right now, embody right now, the results that you want to experience at the end of the month? Not the tactical, tangible results, but the results that you want to feel at the end of the month. So what is it? Let's say you guys hit your numbers, or let's say you had a great month, or you've got your team retreat coming up, and you just, whatever it may be. What is it that you want to feel at the end of the month? And how can you start showing up, modeling that right now? Man, that's going to change the energy, the dynamic, how you show up, how your team responds. and put you on track to be someone capable of actually achieving those results. So, my friend, at the end of the day, this comes down to self leadership, leading yourself first, modeling this level of standards, discipline, and realness, being truthful. So I'm thank you for those. We actually went 20 minutes here. I'm grateful. Sometimes we just kind of roll. But if you have additional questions about this, by all means, I would happy to help support you in any way that I can. I'm at Cletus Coffee on pretty much all social, and or just subscribe and follow and learn more as we can go through this together. Let's grow. Let's get better, and let's start getting the results that we truly want. Okay, so I'm building this out. If I can be of support, let me know. Otherwise, I'll catch you all next week.